psychology. I'm so glad you're joining me today. If you're new here, this channel is dedicated to exploring practical psychology to help you grow personally and professionally. In today's video, we'll be diving into an incredibly important topic: understanding motivation, intrinsic versus extrinsic. Motivation is something that drives us all, whether it's in our personal goals, our careers, or even our daily routines. But have you ever stopped to wonder, why are you motivated to do the things you do? What's really behind the choices you make? Well, in today's video, we're going to break down the two primary types of motivation, intrinsic and extrinsic, and explore how they influence our behavior. So, let's get started. First, let's define what we mean by intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. These two types of motivation are key to understanding why we do what we do, and how we can harness them to achieve our goals. Let's start with intrinsic motivation. This type of motivation comes from within. It's the drive to do something because it is inherently enjoyable, satisfying, or fulfilling. In other words, when you're intrinsically motivated, you engage in an activity for the sheer pleasure or satisfaction you get from it, rather than for some external reward. For example, think about when you do something simply because you enjoy it, like playing a musical instrument, painting, or reading. You do it not because someone is paying you to do it or offering you a reward, but because you find the activity personally meaningful or enjoyable. Some common characteristics of intrinsic motivation include a sense of accomplishment, personal growth, or simply the joy of engaging in an activity. Research shows that intrinsic motivation leads to higher levels of creativity, deeper learning, and greater long-term satisfaction because it's driven by internal desires rather than external pressures. Now, let's talk about extrinsic motivation. Unlike intrinsic motivation, extrinsic motivation is driven by external rewards or pressures. When you're extrinsically motivated, you engage in an activity because of something outside of the activity itself, like earning money, receiving praise, avoiding punishment, or gaining approval from others. For example, you might work hard on a project because you want to receive a promotion at work or because you're aiming for a financial bonus. The reward is external to the activity itself. Extrinsic motivation can be very effective in the short term, especially when the rewards are tangible and immediate. However, over time, it may not be as sustainable as intrinsic motivation because once the external rewards disappear, the motivation can diminish. So, let's take a closer look at the key differences between intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. Understanding these differences can help you recognize which type of motivation is driving your behavior, and how to harness that knowledge for your personal growth. Intrinsic motivation comes from within, driven by personal enjoyment, interest, or satisfaction. Extrinsic motivation, on the other hand, comes from external factors such as rewards, recognition, or avoiding negative consequences. With intrinsic motivation, the focus is on the activity itself. You do it because you enjoy the process or because it helps you grow. With extrinsic motivation, the focus is on the outcome or reward. You do it because of the external benefits you expect to receive. Research suggests that intrinsic motivation is generally more sustainable over time. When you're doing something because you love it, you're more likely to continue doing it in the long run. On the other hand, extrinsic motivation may not be as sustainable because once the rewards or incentives are removed, motivation may decline. Intrinsic motivation tends to be linked with better psychological well-being. People who engage in activities for intrinsic reasons report higher levels of satisfaction and happiness. In contrast, extrinsic motivation can sometimes lead to stress, burnout, or feelings of dissatisfaction when external rewards are not met or are no longer available. Now, you might be thinking, extrinsic motivation isn't all bad, right? And you'd be correct. While intrinsic motivation is generally more sustainable and rewarding, extrinsic motivation can still be very effective in certain situations. If you have a short-term goal, like saving money for a vacation or completing a work project to earn a bonus, extrinsic rewards can provide a clear incentive to stay focused and committed. Extrinsic motivation can also be useful when you're trying to develop a new habit. For example, if you're trying to establish a regular exercise routine, you might start by rewarding yourself with something you enjoy after each workout, like watching your favorite show or eating a healthy treat. These rewards can help reinforce the behavior until it eventually becomes more intrinsically motivating. Sometimes, external factors, such as deadlines or social expectations, may push you to complete a task or achieve a goal. While these pressures might not always feel enjoyable, they can help motivate you to get things done. While extrinsic motivation has its place, fostering intrinsic motivation is key to long-term success, happiness, and personal growth. So, how can you cultivate more intrinsic motivation in your life? Let's go over some practical tips. 1. Find purpose in your work. One of the most effective ways to boost intrinsic motivation is to connect your tasks or goals with a deeper sense of purpose. Whether it's your job, a personal project, or a daily habit, try to identify why it matters to you beyond the immediate rewards. When you understand the broader impact or value of what you're doing, you're more likely to stay motivated. 2. Focus on mastery, not just outcomes. Intrinsic motivation is often linked to the pursuit of mastery. When you focus on getting better at something, rather than just achieving a specific goal, the process itself becomes rewarding. For example, if you enjoy learning a new language, focus on the enjoyment of mastering new words and phrases rather than just the end goal of fluency. 3. Enjoy the process. Sometimes, we get so focused on the end result that we forget to enjoy the journey. Whether it's working on a personal project or pursuing a career goal, try to find enjoyment in the process itself. Celebrate small victories and enjoy the learning and growth that happens along the way. 4. Align your environment with your values. To nurture intrinsic motivation, it helps to create an environment that supports your values and interests. Surround yourself with people, places, and activities that inspire you and encourage you to engage in meaningful work. In conclusion, both intrinsic and extrinsic motivation play important roles in our lives. While intrinsic motivation leads to greater long-term satisfaction and personal fulfillment, extrinsic motivation can be helpful for achieving short-term goals, developing new habits, and pushing through challenges. By understanding the difference between the two, you can learn how to tap into both types of motivation to reach your personal and professional goals. Ultimately, finding a balance between the two will allow you to stay motivated, driven, and fulfilled in whatever you set out to do. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with your friends, family, or anyone who might benefit from learning more about motivation. Let's all grow together. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Remember, understanding what drives you can help you achieve anything you set your mind to.